joke.
Recording in progress.
All right, here we go. All right, the time is 1:31 p.m., and I hereby call the September 13th, 2023 meeting of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals to order. We have 7 members present of a 7-member board. The Area Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is being held in person and virtually in the 4th floor council chambers of the County City Building with Zoom and video option and phone teleconferencing options available as posted on the website sjcindiana.com/agenda center. Regarding public comment, we will first ask any public comment from those sitting in the chambers, then call on the members of the public attending remotely. If a member of the public attending remotely wishes to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting, they should indicate this by using their raise hand function in the Zoom and/or by messaging the host in the chat function. Please clearly state your name and address for the record. When the board members state their name, or we ask that the board members state their name when making a motion in a second. Lastly, please silence your cell phones so they do not disturb the meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavernier?
Here.
Mr. Hawley?
Present.
Mr. Byers?
Present.
Mr. Vellman?
Here.
Mr. Ritzma?
Here.
Mr. Roush?
Here.
Mr. Schaefer?
Here.
7 members present.
Okay.
Petition number 1, location 67540 Smilax Road. Owner Jason R. Sass. Requested action, variance from section 154.092 sub D to allow a side north setback of 15 feet where a minimum of 30 feet is required for a new pole building. Zoning A Agricultural District, County.
Right. Abby Wiles, APC Director. The text amendment that you all asked us to put forward for fences, we also addressed accessory structures in agriculturally zoned lots 2 acres or less. We made the required side and rear setback for these properties 8 feet, where 30 feet was required for agricultural district. This variance is no longer needed because the text amendment was just approved last night by the county council. I have notified the petitioner, and the petition can be dismissed by the board. They can pull a building permit administratively without a variance.
Okay. So we need a motion in a second, correct?
Yes.
To dismiss the petition.
Lance Roush, I move we dismiss the petition.
Bob Hawley, second that.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Vellman?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes.
Petition number 2, location 11455 McKinley Highway. Owner Colin R. DeGroot, Land Trust. Requested action, variance from section 154.070 sub C1D1A to allow for a 6-foot solid privacy fence with less than 70% open space in the front east yard of a property where 3-foot would be permitted, zoning R Single Family District, County.
Good afternoon. This is Carl Brown-Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff. The petitioner is seeking a variance to allow for a 6-foot privacy fence in what is considered to be the front lot line along Caldwell Street. They're looking to do this to provide privacy for the pool that you can see in the aerial here. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance on the grounds that the fence is the only practical way to provide privacy and security for that pool, given its orientation on the lot. Here you can see the fence as it is built today, looking from Caldwell. There's a closer view of the pool along with the gate for the fence. This is the front of the fence. It's important to note that this is far away from McKinley, and it does not encroach anywhere near that or Caldwell Street. The following few slides are examples in the surrounding neighborhood of other corner lots that have 6-foot privacy fences. It's pretty common in the area. Looking at our state law criteria, approval will not be injurious. The fence, as you've seen, is well out of the clear sight area and does not block vision for drivers traveling on either right-of-way. Also, the fences are common in the neighborhood, so it is difficult to say that this fence will negatively affect property values in a substantially adverse manner. And finally, the location of the pool merits practical difficulty in this case. While we would prefer to see the fence set back from the Caldwell Drive right-of-way, that would bring it into compliance with the text amendment that was just passed. In this case, that's not possible due to a patio preventing that. So we do recommend approval, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Who's got any questions?
Not for staff.
Nope. All right. Thanks, Carl. Is the petitioner present? I'm sorry?
Yes.
All right. If you got anything to add, name and address, and you got 10 minutes, please.
Steve DeGrooves, I'm trustee of that land trust, address 11455 McKinley Highway. So, I mean, he said everything I was gonna say, I didn't know it was gonna represent like that. So I do have the neighbor on the east side, he stated, because he did have a chain link fence there before, and we put a privacy fence there, and he stated that he was happy with the fence, we discussed it. I don't know if I needed that or not, but the neighbor's good with what I did.
How long have you lived there, sir?
A little over a year.
Little, so just a short time. Was the pool there when you bought the
Yes.
house?
And there was a fence around it then too as well.
Thank you.
I don't know if I missed it. Was it a 6-foot privacy fence
Yeah,
that was
6
there
foot
prior?
fence, yes.
Sorry.
What is the distance between the edge of the pool deck that is currently there and where the east side of this fence is at? I have an aerial that it looks like you drew some lines onto to show where it's going. What's that distance?
Well, I don't know exactly from the pool thing. Do you want to see what I have in my hand?
I have the same thing. I just need to know what this distance is.
Yeah, but I have a measurement of,
So
from
any,
that fence line is 34 and 4 inches, so the deck.
Sir, anything that you provide to the board for them to look at becomes the property of the board, so you can't have that back. It has to go in the public record for the board proceedings now.
Okay, so yeah, you want this? I don't know.
We can make you a copy and send it to you, but you've already given it to a board member, it has to stay.
Oh. Confiscated.
Yeah, I have a copy, so.
Did any other board member want to see that, I guess?
It just has more accurate.
If you're
measurements.
satisfied, that's fine.
Well, it doesn't have the dimension I'm looking for, so that's my struggle is, I understand where the staff said there's a practical difficulty because of an existing patio, but to me, there's substantial distance to the pool, but I don't know what that distance actually is. Is that
Well,
5
there-
feet, 70 feet? I don't know what that
Well, there
is.
is a patio in that one corner of a concrete slab that's there.
Sure, understood.
Yeah.
It would help me to understand if it's
Yeah, so-
feasible, and because the 3 tenants we have to live by is if it's impractical. Well, it appears there's plenty of space to move that fence back that's
Move it back-
practical.
Move it more towards the west side.
Yes, correct. So I'm just asking, is that 5 feet? Is that 15 feet, 100 feet? I don't know what that
Well,
is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be guessing at this point, but it's probably 12 feet maybe,
Okay.
8, I don't know. 8 feet would be probably a better guess.
Because while this doesn't give you any, in my opinion, doesn't give you any line of sight issues onto McKinley, it does give line of sight issues for you even backing out of your garage. I mean, if somebody's coming barreling down Caldwell, you have 6 feet there to be able to see somebody coming down towards you. So
It's more than that.
I can't tell that from this
No,
picture,
no,
I'm sorry.
I got you. I didn't know I need those measurements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what that distance is?
Just so many feet.
Trailer's 9 feet wide.
Is that your best guess?
It's under 34 feet.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's all I had.
Anybody else got anything? Nope. Oh.
So are we reviewing this fence is in existence still, correct?
Correct.
So as a board, we're approving this existence of this fence
Yeah,
by granting this variance?
it appears, I mean, it's
Was
there.
it flagged by the building department? Is that
So they
what brought
stopped
this
by, and
up?
obviously it's still in the same position it is now. When they stopped by, it's told me that their permits are needed now since last year, I guess. Then it stopped, so there's a gate in the front and a side piece you see open. So it's the same as it is now. So it stopped working at that point and waited till this.
Thank you.
So there was a 6-foot fence there prior.
Yes,
You did the improvements.
yes,
Building department found out about it, talked to you, and you stopped work.
correct,
Fair?
yes.
Okay.
That helps. Thank you.
Anybody else got anything? All right, thanks, sir.
Okay.
All right, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Is there anybody who would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none, public portion is now closed. You guys got anything else, or I'll take a motion?
Lance Roush, I would like to make a motion that we approve the variance as written.
Bob Hawley, second that motion.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Velman?
I'll preface my vote with just a remark that it was an existing fence, so I understand the applicant's assumption to go back in the same spot where he was. I'm not sure it's a practical difficulty to not ask them to move it because of an existing patio, but because it was an existing structure for as long as I've known Caldwell Street, because I have relatives live back there, I'm fine with it. So I would, but just one of those things of, I'm not sure that's truly a practical difficulty, but I will take the recommendation at this point, so yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes. Based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, grants your variance and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you. Number 3.
Petition number 3, location 56977 Mayflower Road. Owner, Super Clean Corporation. Requested action, special use, a tattoo and body piercing establishment in the C Commercial District per section 154.477, zoning C Commercial District, County.
Shelley, could you click on the PowerPoint? This is Faryal Sharif, Area Plan Commission staff. The subject property is a commercial retail strip plaza at the intersection of Mayflower and Grant Road. The petitioner owns a tattoo and body piercing establishment in Mishawaka and is looking to expand their business into a suite in this building. Tattoo and body piercing establishments are a controlled use in the zoning ordinance and only permitted outright in the industrial district. So a special use permit is needed to make it legal on this commercially zoned property. We're recommending this be sent with a favorable recommendation today, as the proposed use will not be injurious or have an adverse impact, and a tattoo shop has existed on this site in the past, which I will expand upon. Here is the property in question. The surrounding properties are mostly commercial in nature. This is the front This is across the intersection of Grant and Mayflower. As you can see, there is a tattoo parlor existing and operating at the site now, which will be moving out so that the new one can go in pending approval. This site is tied to a final site plan, which was revised in 2015 when a drive-up ATM was added onto the site. That site plan on the screen now was approved by the previous zoning administrator with the existing tattoo parlor listed on it. That's this one. When the current owners inquired about the zoning on their property earlier in the year to renew permits, staff was made aware about the situation. Obtaining a special use permit for the property now will clarify the admissibility of a tattoo and body piercing establishment at this location. There are no other proposed changes to the site tied to this petition. It's just allowing the tattoo and body piercing use. Moving on to the criteria for a special use, the special use should have no impact on public comfort or general welfare. For health, the tattoo and piercing business that is going into here is current on all permits and will follow necessary health and safety protocols related to those permits. Tattoo and body piercings have also become less objectionable, and thus this use is unlikely to pose the objectionable secondary impacts that are usually of concern with any controlled uses. The proposed use will not injure or adversely affect the adjacent area or property values. As stated, there has been a tattoo and body piercing establishment here. We don't believe putting another will cause any more adverse impacts. And this is mostly a commercial district with other retail commercial businesses around it and in the strip plaza itself, making it consistent with the character. Finally, for the comprehensive plan, the use is non-conflict with any of the recommendations of the comprehensive plan. Therefore, staff recommends this petition be sent with a favorable recommendation to the county council. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got anything? No?
So to clarify, it's already there, and there has been one there for a while.
Yes, there has been one there, but this will be a different business.
And that's what triggered, oh, we didn't have a special use. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thanks. Is the petitioner present? Name and address at the podium, please. I think you got 10 minutes.
My name is Haley Corporal. The address of the location is 56977 Mayflower Road. Do you need my
Your
address? My address is 1255 Amelia Street, apartment 1010, Granger, Indiana, 46530.
Okay, you got anything to add?
No, I've owned a tattoo and piercing establishment in Mishawaka for going on 17 years. And I would like to expand into another location on the other side of town.
So this will be a second location for
It
you, an
will.
additional location, or a new
Yeah.
location?
A second
Second
location.
location, yeah. So
Yes.
you maintain the one in Town and Country and then
Yes.
open this one? Gotcha.
How many staff will you have there at that location?
I am looking to have 4 or 5 artists and piercers combined. And then there will probably be a secretary of some sort. So probably around 6 or 7 staff members total.
Anybody else got anything?
No, sir.
No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll open this up to the public now. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. See none. Any on Zoom? See none. Is there anybody who would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. See none. Any on Zoom? See none. Public portion is now closed. You guys got anything, or I'll take a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Joe Velleman, seeing as this has been an existing tattoo facility for quite some time with no known adverse opportunities over there, an expansion of an existing business sounds like a good opportunity for all involved. So I would make a motion to approve as requested. Or no, I'm sorry. This is sending a special use. So I would make a motion to send this special use with a favorable recommendation to the county council. Sorry.
Bob Hawley, seconded.
Okay.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Vellman?
Yes.
Mr. Haltley?
Yes.
Tavernier?
Yes. Based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, will send a favorable recommendation to the county council and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you.
Number 4, location 11787 Adams Road. Owner Courtney Anne Marie Hauser. Requested action, variance from section 154.070 sub C 1D 1A to allow for a 6-foot solid privacy fence with less than 70% open space in the front west yard of a property where 3 foot would be permitted, zoning R Single Family District, County.
Abby Wiles, APC Director. In light of the text amendment that was approved by the county council last night, this variance is no longer necessary. Based on the site plan included in your packet, the fence along Park Lane would be 12 feet setback. Our ordinance now requires, or allows them, a fence to be up to 6 feet in height, setback 8 feet. So this can be approved administratively. They can go pull their building permit. We're asking for you to just dismiss the petition.
Mr. Chairman, Joe Velleman, I make a motion to dismiss petition number 4, 11787 Adams Road.
Donnie Ritzmo, second.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Velman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Petition number 5, location 66465 Mulberry Road. Owner Justin Matthew Ranky. Requested action, variance from section 154.092 sub D to allow a side north yard setback of 8 foot where 30 feet is required for a proposed accessory building. Zoning A Agricultural District, County.
This is Carl Brown Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff again. So this petition is a resubmittal of a request that was granted back in September of 2022. The property owner was unable to pull the building permit within the required 6 months, and the approval of the variance became void. So they're here today requesting a side yard setback variance in order to build a new garage. At the September of last year's meeting, this board granted a 10-foot side yard setback, primarily based on the fact that the new building is residential in nature, and given this property's lot size, a 10-foot setback was more reasonable than the typical 30-foot required by the agricultural district. Here's the house in question. That's, I think, where the proposed location of the garage there. This is the lot line to the north. You can see it's heavily wooded as it is. These are photos provided last year by the petitioner, showing the location again. I think it's going to go just sort of in front of where that RV is. Here's the site plan, again, displaying the location and sort of the nature of the proposed structure. Staff does recommend approval of this petition for basically the same reasons as last year, as amended to the 10-foot to match what was approved. Looking at our state law criteria, the 10-foot approval provides an adequate setback given the scale of the property and will not be injurious to the neighbors. The dense forestation of the lot line also likely prevents the approval of this variance for having a significant impact on the surrounding property values. And then finally, strict application of the terms of this chapter does impose practical difficulties in this case. Again, as I mentioned, imposing the 30-foot setback typically required in the agricultural district significantly restricts the buildable area on this lot due to its size. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You guys got anything? Nope. All right, is the petitioner present? Name and address in 10 minutes, please.
Frank Augustino, 131 South Taylor Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, attorney for Justin Renke. The petitioner was unable to get with his construction team to acquire the appropriate supplies and schedule this during with the permitting period. That's how I missed that scheduling date, and so this is kind of just a repeat of what we've already done before. I think the application may have still listed the original 8-foot, but it is just the 10-foot setback that was previously approved by the board that the petitioner is seeking.
Okay, so obviously I have some questions on why we couldn't get a permit for a building for something that's good for 2 years in 6 months. So I don't understand.
Well, he wasn't able to. He has a separate job at his work that he does, and his timing and his schedule didn't allow him to do that. Plus, there would be supply issues that he ran into, and he wasn't able to do that during that time period.
Okay. You guys got anything?
The only question I had is on the lot to the north, it looks like it has a drive that goes back. Is that a house that sits behind them? It looks like there's another lot that has a maybe 50-foot wide entrance off of Mulberry Road. Is that another lot, a house back there?
So the property to the north of him would be a neighbor's lot. He's seeking to put this off of his driveway. That's where he's trying to put the accessory building.
Right,
So that there is a neighbor to the north.
okay. So there are people that live there in that north,
I believe so.
okay. Gotcha, thank you.
You guys got anything else? Nope. All right, thank you. All right, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Anybody who would like to speak against this petition, please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none, public portion is now closed. You guys got anything else, or I'll take a motion?
I just wanted a clarification. So staff's recommendation for this, and apparently I must have been gone that meeting, so I don't recall this petition, so that's why I'm asking questions now. But because this is technically ag, but when you look at the surrounding areas and all that kind of stuff, it is more residentially looking. Is that the reason we're okay with the 10-foot versus the 30-foot minimum realistically?
Yeah, that and the request is for a garage or it's sort of accessory to residential in nature versus accessory to agriculture, which is what that 30-foot setback is really intended for.
Right, yeah, so it's something, yeah, for all that, that's why I was asking about the north side, because it's pretty close to the property line plus their property line, but it's still in the wooded area, so, yeah, okay, thank you.
How many acres was this again?
It's just under 5 acres.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it doesn't,
Or else it would have also qualified to be dismissed.
What's the size of that building, do you know?
Looks like 24 by 50.
I can't, 24 by,
I think by 50, yeah.
thank you.
So 1,400 or 1,200. Half.
Mr. Chairman, this is Joe Velman. I would make a motion to approve the variance as requested in anticipation and hope that the petitioner will be able to take a day off and be able to come down to the building, city county building to get a permit.
Clarification, are you making a motion to approve it as they requested it for 8 feet, or
No.
as the staff recommended
No,
to
I'm
10
sorry.
feet?
I would make a motion to approve the amended 10-foot as staff has recommended.
Lance Roush, second.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes,
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellman?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, will grant your variance as amended to the 10 feet and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you.
Variance number 6, location 12460 Weber Drive, otherwise known as the 3.25 plus or minus acre parcel on the west side of Timber Lane, north of 12491 McKinley Highway. Owner Anthony and Elizabeth Rutten. Requested action, variance from section 154.107 sub A 4C to allow for a minimum lot area per dwelling unit of 4,700 square feet, where 6,000 square feet would be permitted, and from section 154.107 sub C1 to allow for a front yard setback of 17 feet, where 25 feet would be required. Special use, a 4-family dwelling use in an R single-family residential district per section 154.106 sub B8, zoning R single-family district, county.
This is Carl Brown Grimm again. So this is a involved special use request. The petitioner is seeking a special use to allow for 4 family dwelling units on a 3.25 acre property located near the currently unimproved Timber Lane. As part of this request, they are seeking to construct 4 separate 4-family buildings along with a future single-family home on the portion of this lot to the north. The variances being requested also involve a reduction in the minimum lot size from the typical 6,000 square feet per dwelling unit to 4,700 square feet for proposed lots 1 and 2, and relief from the front setback requirement for all lots due to the proposed Eleanor Trail Loop Street right-of-way. Additionally, the petitioner is proposing to connect to public water and sewer, improve the existing Timber Lane, and provide a new Loop Street Eleanor Trail, like I just mentioned. They have provided some preliminary elevations for the 4-family building structures. The current site today is a heavily wooded area located west of that unimproved Timber Lane. And that street does provide access to a few homes, as you could see here. To the north of the site, there is a single-family subdivision, which you can see typical single-family lots for St. Joseph County. They're half-acre, single-story, on well and septic. To the south is the McKinley Highway corridor, and it's more of a mixed-use area. You can see the Dollar General there. There's a gas station. Penn High School is across the street, and I believe there's an office as well. Looking at the special use criteria, staff does feel that a 4-family dwelling unit may be appropriate on this property given that mix in the surrounding area. Specifically, allowing for residential density on this property would not be injurious to the surrounding community given that mix. Additionally, the petitioner is proposing to provide several improvements that represent significant investment in the general welfare of the surrounding community. Also, due to these improvements proposed, the use and value of surrounding properties may well improve. Introducing water and sewer to this property does reduce the minimum required lot area per dwelling unit and does warrant some additional density. Given the property is zoned R single-family district, this intends for residential uses and institutional uses that support residential uses. So allowing a 4-family use, which is ultimately a residential use, is consistent with the district. And then finally, there are a few provisions of the 2002 comprehensive plan that do support this, specifically Goal 3, Objective C, Policy 2, and Objective D, Policy 1, which encourage residential infill development in older neighborhoods and away from arterial roads. For these reasons, staff does support the requested special use to allow for a 4-family dwelling unit use on this property. However, we do recommend denial of the requested variances. In our opinion, the scale of the proposed project is too large for the size of the subject parcel, and this may threaten neighborhood character in the future. We do agree that the special use may be warranted in this case. 4 separate 4-family buildings will be tight. There is no overflow parking planned, and the county engineer has indicated the petitioner may have difficulties meeting county stormwater retention requirements. The relatively small right-of-way dedicated to the proposed roads has the potential to amplify both the parking and the runoff issues. Surrounding property values may also be negatively impacted by approving the requested variances. The current right-of-way in the area provides access to 9 dwelling units. That's along Weber Drive from Bittersweet to Timberlane, and then Timberlane from Weber to McKinley. The petitioner is seeking to allow an additional 17 dwelling units, meaning that this same stretch of right-of-way will need to provide access to nearly triple the amount of units as it currently does. Finally, staff does not feel that there is practical difficulty in this situation with regards to the variance. If this proposal were for 2 or maybe even 3 of these 4-family dwelling units with some site magic, they would have no problem meeting the ordinance. In this case, the 4 is just a little too much for us, and we do recommend denial on the variance. So to recap, we do recommend approval, or a favorable recommendation of the special use while recommending denial of the 2 variances. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
The lot area per dwelling unit square footage, the 4,700, if they met the 6,000 square feet, is the special use still needed for the multifamily?
Yes, so the special use is needed regardless of the variance.
Who would be responsible for the updating and the caretaking of Weber Drive? Would that be the county or would that be the petitioners?
So all roads are proposed to be public, so it will be Eleanor Trail, the improvements to Timber Lane, and then Weber will all be still county roads.
But the county engineer has indicated it would be at the cost of the petitioner.
To make the improvements.
Right, yeah.
But then public
It's not even
roads
really a
ones.
road right now, so. yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, okay. So all of any upgrades to the infrastructure would be the county's responsibility after it's all built. That would be the petitioner's responsibility. Understood.
The water and sewer is the city of Mishawaka.
Yeah.
You're getting that plowing and all the,
Right.
maintaining the road after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got anything else?
Carl, is the city of Mishawaka for sure going to provide them water service?
Yeah, they've
I saw in
provi-
the letter that we're not going to recommend water, but they were sewer.
I believe the petitioner has gotten a letter from the
changed?
water, yeah.
Okay.
At their expense, I think I saw.
Yeah.
The only thing I have is just in terms of compatibility and the character and the comprehensive plan. Majority of the homes are single-family detached, whereas this is a higher intensity. I mean, even if it's a smaller number, it's still a difference in character. So I'm curious if, has any form of public engagement been done with the neighborhood around this area?
Prior to filing the ABZA petition, we encouraged the petitioner to reach out to the neighborhood at one of 2 prior meetings that we had pre-submittal. I don't know if that occurred.
One other question I wanted your clarification on is in the petitioner's petition, they claim that 16 new villa homes where county ordinance allows for up to 19 based off of the lot area. Is that an accurate statement in your opinion?
So based on the area of the entire parcel, I believe that's correct. I did the math in the staff report. But because of how the site has to work out with adding that and dedicating that right-of-way, it doesn't, in practice, work out to be that.
Right.
But based on the raw area, yes, that would be correct.
Yeah, the theory works, but the actual application doesn't.
Correct.
Understood. Thank you.
In the prelim meetings, was engineering involved?
The petitioner attended a PAT, which is a
Right.
project action team. Engineering was involved, yeah.
Okay.
They've been consulted.
Not seeing,
And actually, Sky is on Zoom right now if you have
Sky
questions.
is
for
on
him.
and actually access staff So if you got any questions for staff, technically you can ask Sky even though he's on Zoom.
Would that be appropriate now, or will he be a, look for or
I
against?
believe Sky is attending in his capacity as county engineer, which would make him staff, and, well, don't know what's going on with that, and part of this part. So,
Okay.
as opposed to public comment.
Sky, can you hear us?
Yes.
Lance Roush, can you shed any light from your perspective on how this would work and where, if, obviously, you know, retention areas and easements and things like that, is there anything else you can add?
Well, the site as it's laid out with the 4 units, I don't necessarily know how it's going to work from a retention easement. The petitioner has provided stormwater calcs that show what is required, which is about 0.8 acre feet of storage, but there was nothing showing how that would be retained on site. Per our ordinance, per our design criteria, you have to retain all the runoff from 100-year, 24-hour storm on site. And there was nothing that shows how that could do. And based on my experience, if you're looking at 0.8 acre feet of storage, what that means is you need 0.8 acre feet for 1 foot of water to store everything you need. So I just don't, with this current layout, I think it would be very difficult to find that acreage for stormwater storage.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about, that additional, what would appear to be to the north, undeveloped land, if that's where that would happen, but you haven't seen any proposal for that?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sky, I got a couple questions. It's DJ.
Okay.
I guess I just don't understand. I mean, as far as, what's your actual input on this? I mean, is there a way to actually make this work, in your opinion? Just, I don't see personally how it's gonna work. There's no retention, there's no parking.
It's very, in my opinion, based on having 4 units, it'd be very difficult to get stormwater requirements. You're gonna have issues with having no overflow parking, giving the narrow right-of-way that we're having. It would be very difficult to make it work.
What's going on with this, Carl, what's going on with this square up top?
Number
Is
5.
that-
So, which square?
It's,
Go ahead.
if it's number 5, that's proposed to be its own single-family lot.
Oh, divided off?
Yes.
Yeah, it will be split into 5 lots during the subdivision process.
So 17 units is what is showing, 16 units, 4 units in each of the 4 buildings, and then a separate single-family home.
How big is that? Do we know?
The acreage of,
I can't read it on this thing.
it's about half an acre, number 5.
All right, thanks, Guy. You guys got anything
Yep,
else?
no problem.
Not for staff.
All right, is the petitioner present? Name and address, please, and you got 10 minutes.
Hi, my name is Andy Rutten. I'm the property owner and the petitioner. I'm also a registered engineer.
I need your address.
My address would be 55304 Cedar Trail, Mishawaka, Indiana, 46545. Wanted to give a little bit of history about this property. This neighborhood was subdivided approximately 60 years ago, unofficially called Weber Acres. The daughter of the subdivider was given that little parcel, the piece number 5 towards the north, as a gift. She never used it. Fast forward about 30 years, and that same daughter had inherited the remainder of that property from the developers. She, at some point, combined them together and then hung on to them for the next 25 years. And then a few years back, it was listed for sale. This property was for sale for a couple of years, and then that's when I was able to purchase it. I was turned on to the idea about developing new housing in St. Joe County. The county had seemed to reach out for the need for more housing. There was a newspaper article in the South Bend Tribune on March 31st that kind of highlighted the need for more housing, especially housing that did not just rely on private well and septic systems. Knowing that this parcel was a mixed-use area, I looked at what I could do to develop to meet this county need. And so in the documentation, I included a picture of a site plan which contained a brief summary of the proposal. I don't know if if that aerial view can be pulled up. It's in the packet. Okay. Well, so what I'm proposing would be 16 suburban villas, which would go within this suburban area. Each of these villas would be approximately the same size as the homes in the adjacent neighborhood. They'd all be single level. There could be the option for an optional loft, but they would be designed as a single level home. New construction, all the spaces within them would be modern, especially the kitchens. Because it's in a suburban area, each unit would have its own attached 2-car garage. Now, the county does require parking for residential, but the minimum requirement would be 1 parking space per dwelling unit. So in the garage, there would be 2. The landscaping would be maintained by an HOA, the front landscaping. The rear yards would be left in the natural wooded state, and that would help for screening and privacy. And then, of course, a nice benefit of this location is, as mentioned, right across the street to the south of McKinley is the main campus of Penn Harris Madison Schools. So you got the high school, you got a middle school, you got elementary school, and there's the administrative offices. And they're also proposing a new athletic center nearby. So I think it's a great location for some additional development. Now, when talking with people in the neighborhood, I did canvass the entire neighborhood prior to submitting this petition. I did this over the course of several days and was able to talk to almost everybody in the neighborhood, everybody who is home. The people immediately adjacent, including everybody immediately adjacent to this site. The feedback I received was a mix. Some people were encouraged by the new housing options. Some people were disinterested. They didn't care. Some had concerns. They wanted to maintain their privacy and the quietness within the neighborhood. And so I took that feedback and put together this petition. So some of the benefits of attaching villas together as proposed in this petition, it helps to reduce construction costs, which are really high right now. It also improves energy efficiency by having them attached together. Attaching the units, the county does require additional setback to the existing property lines, so that helps to create privacy to the existing neighborhood. And then also, just the nature of this type of housing, it's going to reduce the overall neighborhood noise. When the property is maintained, such as lawn mowing, it's going to be just once a week during the business week. There's not going to be any accessory buildings. There's not going to be I don't anticipate a lot of outdoor activity. The target occupants that I think would be a great fit for this site would be residents that are already in the neighborhood who might be looking for a new home. Also, maybe starter families and families who attend or work at the Penn Harris Madison schools and would like to have a place very close by. So as mentioned, this special use is four-unit buildings for 16 units total. The gross area of just the petition area, so not including that additional piece to the north, could hold up to 19 sites. There was mentioned some difficulty in the practical application and layout of that site. There is infrastructure that is near the site. Public sewer, municipal sewer is available, municipal water is available, also the natural gas and the electrical lines, everything needed for development. I believe that this development, including the paving of the additional street of Timber Lane, which would provide the primary access to this, benefits the neighborhood, and according to the comprehensive plan, could allow for even additional density beyond what's proposed. This infill development will preserve neighborhood characteristics such as construction type, silhouette, size of the home, the garages. It'll maintain 4 parking units per dwelling unit, where the county minimum is only 1. The yards would be retained as natural wherever possible, and the roads ideally would be maintained with the similar pavement width and no curbs as what's in the surrounding neighborhood. Now, I'm aware that's a part of the subdivision ordinance, so that might fall outside of the specifics of this hearing. I propose the variances to reduce the front yards within these new dwellings to maintain more space to the rear yards. And then also the unequal lot size. It just helps preserve more of the forested landscape, helps improve the screening, and helps maintain the privacy for the neighbors that are already there. The lot size, without including the right-of-way for the loop street, would average about a little over 6,100 square feet, which exceeds the county ordinance minimum. However, I understand that there are concerns over this, that the staff has viewed the development as tight. I think there are ways to address this and potentially eliminate need for any variance. One option that comes to mind that I'd like to consider openly right now and propose would be to change that, the public loop street of Eleanor Trail, and make that a private access loop. That, with maybe shifting around the interior lot lines a little bit, I think would go a long way towards addressing all of the concerns that I've mentioned, so that this site can meet all county requirements, both within the zoning ordinance and within the subdivision ordinance. So with that, I'd like to conclude these initial remarks.
All right, anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I had a couple, thank you. I just want to make sure it's clear in my mind, because, so the 17-foot setback you're requesting in your variance is to the front off of the new Eleanor Trail, is that correct?
That would be from the edge of the right-of-way to the nearest part of the building.
Off
Yes.
Eleanor Trail, though, not off Weber, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So off
Or
either.
Timber, I'm sorry,
Yep,
Timber Trail.
either side of the Eleanor Trail right-of-way.
Gotcha. Obviously, this is a very wooded area in that corner of Bittersweet, basically, and McKinley. How much of the existing trees would be able to be maintained with the construction going on?
Well, that's a good question. It would be easy to maintain trees that were outside of a 10-foot buffer of each building. I've done construction before and have managed well within 10 feet for that. I have done construction that maintain forested landscapes. It can be tricky. It's not cheap or easy, but it's something that I personally value when I do construction.
If you had to take trees out that would be providing buffer to the residents to the west and/or along the timber trail, would you be consider open to replacing trees to provide buffer zones?
Absolutely. So the setback along the west and east sides of the petition area, which is, I think, what you had mentioned, is 35 feet. That's what's proposed. Now, it's worth noting that the one on the west side would be considered the rear yard setback. County minimum is only 25 feet, so I'm proposing 35 feet. That goes beyond the county minimum. Yeah, so I would see maintaining at least a strip of 25 foot of undisturbed woodland forest along both sides, all the way down. And then any additional central area, I mean, there's a lot of trees there that have to be cleared out, but some of them could be transplanted to adjacent sites within the property. That's also something I've done in the past.
And you're proposing an HOA, would that have stipulations on additional, you mentioned accessory structures, that would have stipulations on what could be placed outside of each one of these dwellings to be considerate of the surrounding areas and adjacent neighbors then as well too?
Yeah, the HOA would be, have your very typical control of of the neighborhood community located within this petition area. And I don't see a need or value at this time for any accessory buildings, and so none are proposed.
Because part of what you structured on the HOA is it would be a community, I'm sure, lawn mowing, snow plowing, everything would be done by somebody else outside of the homeowner, correct?
Correct.
Bob Hawley, I have a number of questions. I'm assuming these units are going to be for sale, single unit,
Yeah,
each one.
yes.
Do you have any idea price range?
I'm not a realtor, but I would.
I am a realtor.
Awesome. When I canvassed through the neighborhood, and I was asked that question a number of times, and I estimated the price range based on existing home prices for that kind of square footage for new construction would be approximately $250,000 to $300,000 per unit.
Do you know what the square footage of the units would be approximately?
Yeah, so it's proposed to be between about 1,150 to 1,400 square feet per unit. Each unit may have an option for a loft. That wouldn't be, your traditional second story. That would just be space within that existing attic space of the building.
Will they have basements?
That's a good question. The basements are to be determined. I think there needs to be additional investigation into soil conditions before deciding if any or all of them could have full basements versus crawl space. Yeah.
I will agree with you on one point, and that is we need villas. There's a demand for villas. I live in a villa complex right now. I have for many years, 20 years. But I'll tell you this, we have 20 units, 20 individual homes. They're, large homes. And we don't have any families in there that have children, young children. I disagree with you that it's an advantage because of Penn High School. I've been involved in the Penn High Building Trades Program for 55 years. And we've sold a number of homes to people that are teachers or administrators at Penn. And in most cases, I would say 95% of the cases, they do have young children. And we haven't had any problems selling. We just closed our 56th house over the last 55 years. So I'll disagree with you on that point. Homeowners Association, do you have any idea what your cost is going to be per month?
I don't have an estimate on that this time, but I am looking at, because there wouldn't be really any accessory structure, no recreational center on site, no pool on site, I would anticipate typical homeowners association costs, but on the low end.
Thank you.
Tom Byers, I want to make sure I understood a statement you made earlier about the internal street becoming a private street. If that in effect were to happen, did you state that you felt that both variances would go away, the need for both variances would go away? The setback as well as the lot area?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned that you canvassed the neighborhood. What, and not that this really matters in my decision, but what method did you use to engage your residents? Was it more door-to-door, or did you hold like a public forum?
I went door to door over the course of several days. I've talked with the neighbors along Timber Lane several times where the opportunity presented itself. But yeah, I just wanted to expand the scope and gain that feedback. So yes, I went door to door, and if somebody was home and willing to talk, then I was grateful to hear any concerns or questions. And if they weren't, I came back probably another day, and if they weren't home either day, then I wasn't able to talk to them. I would estimate I spoke with approximately 90% of all the homes that are within 660 feet of the petition area.
And I'm assuming you shared these same schematic drawings that you are sharing with us to
I-
residents?
Yes. Now, I did update the petition and the site plan based on some of that feedback. But yeah, a preliminary version that is almost exactly what's shown. This aerial view with the summary highlights, yes, I showed all those documents.
So why would residents be against this kind of development in your surveying?
Well, that's a good question, and I tried to make the case that the special use benefits the neighborhood in that when you attach the units together, you bring the units more central to the parcel and away from the property lines.
I understand that. What were they saying as to why they were against it? Because you said there was a mixed review.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of people were supportive of it or just weren't real concerned. There were a handful of people who expressed some doubts and wanted to oppose it. I wrote some comments down. It really comes down to it's an existing older neighborhood. They wanted their peace of quiet. Now, it is right next to the McKinley Bittersweet intersection, which is pretty busy. But yeah, I think on the weekends, the times that I've been there, it can get, fairly quiet and peaceful. And so they wanted to maintain that. And as a neighbor wanting to develop in that neighborhood, I agree. I would also like to maintain and preserve that.
Okay, so then why are you thinking this route of doing more of a single-family attached kind of style development versus dividing out the parcel into single-family lots that would support homes that are within similar character of the immediate area? Because personally, to me, I don't think this really fits the character to the neighborhood.
Well, that goes back to the county feedback of wanting to get away from development that requires private well and private septic systems. The minimum lot size is a half acre with 100-foot wide on the width. Sometimes it goes over that depending on soil conditions. I think that to the north of this property, the soil conditions may require larger space or may not be suitable for a private septic system. So when you look at putting 1/2 to 3/4 acre lots on this property, it doesn't really fit in there very well. And then, of course, Timber Lane is not paved. It's a gravel, it's a paper street. So that limits access along that side of the road. Only putting in a handful of private septic homes doesn't justify the expense of paving that Timber Lane in addition to any additional interior access drive.
Lance, you got anything? Sydney? All right, well, I got a couple things. You got something?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that setback and saying, I don't see any real reason for it. The front yard setback versus, because he's got 35 acres or 35 feet in the back.
Right, he already said that.
Yeah, so I don't see any point of this 17 to 25.
Okay, you got any questions for him?
No.
All right, I got a couple. As a builder, a new residential new home builder, I think it's gonna be awful hard to do what you're wanting to do on this spot here. So what precautions are you going to take in order to preserve your 10-foot and keep the amount of trees that you're thinking you're gonna be able to keep and be able to do what you're wanting to do? I've got like 10 questions for you, by the way, so.
Sure. So in the past, I've rolled out caution tape. Sometimes even that's not even enough. So then you survey out the site that needs to be cleared, but then maybe even keep additional trees that are sacrificed, that are willing to be sacrificed, because excavators, heavy equipment, they're going to bump trees and damage them very easily. So you keep the first row of trees that can be damaged, and then they're removed later on in the construction. The trees behind that are desired to be kept are then protected from any damage.
I just had an excavator go off the road and take out somebody's fence, and the road's 38 feet wide, so 10 feet seems a little short to me, right? Personally, I don't think there's enough information here right now. There's too many questions on parking, there's too many questions on stormwater. Obviously, we're gonna hear from the public here in a second.
Yes.
And so what's your plan for you selling one of these units and somebody having a graduation party? What's your plan for all those people that are gonna come to that party, I'm sorry? And where are they gonna park?
Well, so I don't envision any overflow parking needing to take place on Timber Lane or any of the other neighborhood roads. I've seen neighborhoods like this, villa neighborhoods, where I think it might be through the HOA or some other means where they limit parking to temporary periods of time, maybe to one side of the street, for overflow as needed. Other than that, I mean, I don't see that scenario happening very often with this situation. I see the occupants as people who don't have graduation parties, people who don't have families or kids, or they're starting with young kids looking for more of a long-term home.
How are you going to maintain the road for the contractors and the excavators and loaders and everybody to get in, dozers? How are you going to maintain the road for the people that do live on this street already, this gravel road? How are you going to maintain that for them so that they continue to have access to their houses?
Well, my feedback from the paving contractor that I'd already talked with is typical. They put down a base layer of the road that can be driven upon and is used during the majority of the construction period. And then when the majority of the construction is complete, then they'll come back and do that second top coat that would then not have any of that construction damage.
Most of the time it's number twos, and it's got a lot of metal and rebar and stuff in it. All right, so what's your plan for stormwater?
Well, so that's a very good question. I've read the county ordinance on drainage extensively. I am a professional engineer, so it's something where I'm very interested in the technical details. I'm going to meet the county requirements on the drainage ordinance. There are some extra spaces here. Fortunately, because there's a lot of undisturbed natural area, it's all sandy soil, it's Tyner soil. It drains very well, it's very permeable. The site is pretty flat. It's about as flat as you can get. I see the drainage as being about as easy to accomplish as can be done for a site like this.
We need to see that. Right now, we have not enough information to be able to approve or deny this, like, we don't have enough information. That's information we need to have now.
As far as
What we're asking.
the drainage, more
Drainage is
detailed
one, yeah,
drainage
and
information.
parking. Like,
Yeah.
we're not seeing that here on your drawings.
I mean, I literally just developed a subdivision, one of my partners and I just developed a subdivision, and our retention basins are 5 times the size of this room. And I don't understand how you're going to get retention on this property. I just don't understand it.
Does the county drainage ordinance require retention basins?
Sky?
You have to retain 100% of the 24-hour, 100-year on your site. And we do not allow infiltration.
Agreed. Does that require retention basins to accomplish that?
I don't see how you're going to accomplish it without that.
The county doesn't allow.
Either a retention
underground
basin
storage.
or some type of underground storage units, which the underground storage units are a lot more expensive than retention basins.
Well, so if a retention basin is essential and required in order to provide the drainage for the site, there are open spots within the petition area that could site a retention basin. That would require cutting down all the trees that are within that spot and excavating all that soil down in order to provide the necessary volume. So with the petition, I did provide a calculation, what would be the volume of rainwater that Sky just mentioned needed in order to retain all the potential for runoff within the petition area so that it doesn't run off-site.
The Sky Matters again, what was provided was the calculation that shows how much storage you have to have on your site, which was 0.78 feet, I believe, of storage on your site. That's how much runoff will be generated by the design storms, what you provided. You didn't provide how you were going to retain that.
I agree. I think
Okay.
the detailed drainage plan is a part of the subdivision ordinance. So if the question is there space within this property to provide for the typical drainage elements, drainage retention elements needed to meet the subdivision ordinance? The site does have that. There are available spaces around there where the greater setbacks are to serve to have that. I would try to preserve the undeveloped forest landscape wherever possible. But where it's required, then I will meet the subdivision ordinance.
Okay. I personally don't think we have enough information right now, but I think we're gonna move on. So.
Fair enough.
All right. Thank you. We'll open this up to the public now. If there's anybody in favor of speaking for this petition, please step forward. Seeing none, is there any on Zoom? Seeing none. Is there anybody that would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. All right, let's come up one at a time or form a line, and I need everybody's name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. So name and address in 5 minutes.
Okay. Name's Brett Boomhauer. Address is 55482 Timber Lane. I'd like to present this to you if I could. This is a petition from 95% of the surrounding houses that are all single-family residential houses on half-acre lots or more.
So that'll have to stay with us.
Absolutely, that's your copy.
And are there name and addresses on there?
There are names and addresses on everyone that signed it. And I didn't really go outside of the neighborhood because I wanted it to be reflective to, the surrounding area. So anybody that signed that lives either on Timber Lane, Weber Drive, Bittersweet. What else am I forgetting? That's it, right? Oh, a couple right on McKinley, yeah, that are real close, so. Really what we're here for today is, this woods has been there for a very long time. And our biggest disagreement with Mr. Root, and it's not personal, we realize he owns the property and possibly could build some houses that conform to our existing neighborhood is really what we think he should do. 16 villas in that very small area is just not going to work. That woods has been there for a very long time. It is a natural sound barrier for all the residents. We just think that it's not going to, and the animals that we have, we don't want to lose the animals. We really think that he's probably going to end up having to take probably 80% of the woods totally out to accomplish what he wants to put in there. Timber Lane, as he said, is a non-dedicated road. It's a gravel road. He's probably going to have to take out 8 to 10 120-foot oak trees just to accommodate the paving of Timber Lane. And I don't think that he's made or really thought through the drainage situation, which I think a couple of you gentlemen had mentioned. If he brings blacktop onto Timber Lane, raises it 4 to 6 inches, puts in an Eleanor Drive, and I don't think he proposed curbs and storm sewers according to his plan. Just don't think that he has thought everything completely through. So I'll let everybody else talk a little bit more. Ryan is my next door neighbor. We both live on Timber Lane. He's a builder. He's going to go next. All right.
I need your name and address, please.
Yeah. It's Ryan Posey, 55450 Timber Lane. I'm the house in the picture that's the second one off of Weber Drive, where the new proposed Eleanor Drive, his drive is going to tee right into my driveway. So it's going to create a traffic issue directly where I back out based on his proposed drawings. The one thing that I, as a builder, am taking issue with, this proposed drawing he has of the house, he's claiming that there's rear setbacks on the backs of the house, but the side on the two end villas, his secondary entrance will be on the side. So the setbacks on the side and cramming these together is not going to leave a lot of room between the 4 buildings that he has in this drawing, where the patios are almost crisscrossing. That I don't think you guys have on there. It should be in your packets. I don't object to him building, obviously. We'd like to see some new improvements in the neighborhood. I get it, the road's gonna cost some money. The thing is that the water tap is on Weber, so it's gonna affect the citizens down that side. The sewer is coming from McKinley, so we're gonna have traffic issues. We all know McKinley feeds into the school. When they put the Dollar General in the front lot in front of him, there's no way to turn off of McKinley onto Weber. The turn lane takes up the entire space all the way past Timber Lane. You would have to put the additional 32 cars of traffic that he's wanting to provide in here down Weber Drive and feed it either off of Weber Drive or off of Bittersweet coming in off of Weber Drive. There's a traffic issue that's going to be created by allowing these 4 units to go in. I'm all for building. It's my livelihood. What this is won't work. Not for what's here. It doesn't match anything that's existing. where he's wanting to get a variance to do the multi-units. I get it, it's an investment, it's cost, it's the entire process. You gotta get your money back where you can. My issue is if you slice those vertically, like the matching houses on Bittersweet, you could get quite a few more individual lots that would still meet a lot of the requirements. Now, do I know what the soil samples are? No, I've walked those woods, there's so many rotten trees laying down, it's hard telling what's back there. This is taking the acreage and taking it from 3 1/4. By the time you slave off that one, I don't know that he's got enough space for the drainage. My front yard, every time it rains, fills up with water, and it's not paved. Brett's front yard, where the gravel meets the edge of the road, it catches water. With no storm system coming down Weber Drive tying into anything and no retention off of what he's got here, that's gonna shove it even more in the front of our houses. I don't see how this particular plan would work, but again, I'm not against him doing something with the property as an investment. The other thing that I didn't agree with in his,
Got 2 minutes.
okay, was the impact of the school. Right now, my kids go to Penn High School. They get picked up at a bus stop off of Weber Drive. That means you're gonna foot traffic all these potential children living in these villas down through these side streets, which have no sidewalk, no curbage. Weber Drive is 17 feet wide. Timber is only 15 feet as a gravel road. The county comes by and plows it twice a winter, and they hit Weber, but because we're a gravel road, we can't even get them to grade the road more than once a year. So you're adding a lot of additional resources from the county perspective to maintain what's already there. And by not putting it as wide as what it needs to be, the kids can't even walk to the school from there. There's gonna be no path, no sidewalk, no nothing. And nobody wants them crossing McKinley on foot. It's kind of where I'm at with it. Obviously, it's up to you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jim Rice, 55420 Weber Drive. My wife and I have lived there for over 30 years. We both are employed at Penn High School. Pardon me? Oh. And I just want to say, I appreciate Mr. Rudden's position here. He may have talked to the majority of the people on Weber Drive, but the petition in front of you, I think, will show 18 or 19 at least 18 or 19 families that live on Weber Drive that are not in favor of this development. We wouldn't mind the half-acre lots for a house like we already have, all up and down Weber Drive, but the 16 places he's proposing, who's to keep them from being purchased and turned into rental units at some point in the future? And then you have, as you said, the parking issue to deal with. You have the sewer or the storm issue to deal with the water runoff. So I think there's a lot of things for him to overcome. The 18 families that live on there, we've lived there quite a while, and we like our neighborhood. We want our neighborhood to stay a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anna Matzner, and I live at 55523 Bittersweet. And I'm going to set my timer so I make sure I'm respectful of everyone's time. Over the course of my life, I have lived at 8 different addresses, and at each of these locations, I have lived for at least 2 years. At 7 of these locations, I've enjoyed and possibly taken for granted a great amount of peace and stability. Soon after moving to Bittersweet Road, I realized that my neighborhood was continuously encroached upon by increasing amounts of noise, traffic, construction, industry, logging, and rezoning. As a first-time homeowner, I have experienced continuous infringement upon my quiet enjoyment of home ownership. Today, I'm asking for the county for what my neighbors deserve, and that is space, privacy, and peace. The petitioners are asking to build an apartment complex within what has traditionally consisted of single-family detached dwellings. As a former property manager of 10 years who lived on site of my rentals, I can tell you that the amount of traffic and noise that 16 additional dwellings will bring to our neighborhood is going to be very disruptive to my neighbors. Firstly, I am not a code expert, but I believe that the homes in our community are single-family district. The special use that is being requested under the R Single Family District Section 154.106B8 specifies that a 4-family dwelling, not dwellings, plural, upgrade can be made. Provided that such a building upgrade, quote, is in conformance with the provisions and spirit of this chapter, unquote, I believe that the proposed upgrade does not conform. Not only is this construction completely out of character with the surrounding neighborhood, the petitioner is requesting that 16 sets of future tenants reside on much less land than it is prescribed by the county, even for an R2 district. So the codes I'm about to read actually apply to an R2 district, which is the surrounding neighborhood is clearly not. Per the general development standards set forth in section 154.122A1D, the minimum lot size for a single-family detached dwelling is supposed to be 6,000 square feet. Now, in A2C, a 4-family dwelling is also prescribed 6,000 square feet. But keep in mind that there are 4 of these 4-family dwellings, or 16 units total. The code goes on in section 154.122A3 to state that a multi-family development should have a minimum lot size of 5 acres. Does a 16-unit apartment complex qualify as a multifamily development? I think so. In any case, each future tenant would be shorted 1,300 square feet of space to exist for their children to be able to run and play and for them to not be, as they say, rear end and elbows with their neighbors. Furthermore, I would like to point out that on paper, this parcel of land is said to be 3.25 acres. However, for this housing project, the actual space allotted for these 16 units is only approximately 2.63 acres. Why? Because the smaller 66 by 160 foot piece of land that sits on Weber Drive, that you see right up there, will either remain wooded or could possibly be parceled off and sold for another single-family construction. When it comes to privacy, the petitioners have planned the bare minimum setback of 25 feet from the road. That is unfair to those living on Timber Trace, as they will now have neighbors who can look right into their front windows from their patios. And because of the new proposed loop, Eleanor Trail, Timber Trace neighbors will have to deal with headlights shining into their living room at all hours. I want to mention that all houses along Weber Drive and Timber Trace have an existing setback of approximately 50 or more feet from their respective roads. So again, the complex is totally out of character with the surrounding neighborhood. I think it is important that you know that unless you've driven down Timber Trace, you might not realize that it is basically a winding, single-lane dirt path. It is exceptionally dangerous to turn from McKinley onto Timber Trace and requires drivers to wait in the fast lane of McKinley or illegally pull into the oncoming westbound turning lane going to the school's Penn. Timber Trace will require paving and widening, further cutting into the space, privacy, and peace that my neighbors have enjoyed. I'm asking for the county to abide by the wisdom set forth by its own codes, thereby preserving fairness, space, peace, and privacy within our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Frank Rivera, and I've lived in the community a number of years. I just retired recently from AM General. I reside at 55498 Bittersweet Road, and that's in Mishawaka, Indiana, 46545. I appreciate the time. He wants to build all this on 3.25 acres or so, when this man, he lives on 5 acres. Not far away from us, just within a couple of miles, I believe. And I proposed that to him, if he wants to build this and make some money, I think that's what he wants to do. He's got 5 acres, he could build it in his own backyard, right? I mean, and everybody's happy. He's happy, he builds, he makes money, and everybody's fine with that. But I also wanted to point out that earlier on, he said that there were mixed reviews about him going to the neighbors as to whether this was, you know, acceptable or not. Then later on, he said most said yes. So he went from mixed reviews to most said yes, and you have our petition in front of you, which is 90+% said no. So there's something to miss right there. I don't understand that. If he builds it the way it is, it's going to be a floodplain. My yard is flooded. I had to add extra drainage pipe in my yard, you know, the kind of convoluted 4-inch it's pierced, you know what I'm saying, right? And I added that. I dug it in because it's a swamp field. And yes, the vegetation does suck up a lot of that during the season of summer months. But in the off-season, like we're heading into now, my yard's going to be flooded. So this guy's making another floodplain is what he's doing. It's not going to happen. I want to say that I have built homes. I have built factories. I have worked in nuclear power plants. My jobs were I was a welder at first. I was a welder. I went through an apprenticeship, and then I went through a pipe fitter apprenticeship. And I was a pipe fitter. I've also taught school at Ivy Tech. So I have this dossier, mad dossier. I may need more than 5 minutes because I got quite a lot here, so I request that from unless somebody wants to give me 2 of their minutes or something, is that okay? 5, that's it, that's all I get, okay.
And you got
All right,
2.5
I just
left.
don't know where to start. I have a question to the board. Recently, they wanted to build a factory, Basher Home. Do you guys know about that? You guys remember that? It was some months ago. Well, okay, I was just wondering, is this variance, if we voted hypothetically yes, does that mean we give up being residential in that area? Because I don't know the laws, all the laws. If we voted yes to this variance, would that mean we're not a residential area anymore? We could be deemed as commercial or other?
This isn't a rezoning. You keep your zoning designation regardless of what happens.
We keep our zoning status. Okay, that was a question. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. I know my neighbors have said that they wouldn't mind that being 4 or 5 homes in there, and that's nice, don't get me wrong, but I also wanted to bring out that within the state of Indiana, there are over 1,300 species between plant and animal life that are on the endangered species list. There are also, the state of Indiana proclaimed, this is 2 years ago, it was either June or July, that the monarch butterfly is on the endangered species list.
You got a minute?
I'm sorry, yes.
You got a minute?
I got 1 minute. Oh, see, that's why I requested extra. I knew I wouldn't, and I can't have anybody else's 5 minutes?
Nope.
Can't have anybody else's. Well, anyway, there needs to be a study for environmental impact and community impact. Right now, if you want to cross the street, my wife and I go biking and cross the street, McKinley, Weber, McKinley and Bittersweet. Half of the buttons to cross the street, the kids can't use because they're broken. I've mentioned it 3 times to the county in the past couple of years, and half of the buttons don't work. So right now, kids walking and going back and forth to school right now on their bikes, they're kind of in an unsafe. So if somebody could see to that, I'd appreciate it, okay?
You got 10 seconds.
In short, I'm sorry?
You got 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Well, what can you accomplish in 10 seconds? I can say that this
You're
man.
out of time.
I'm out of
Your
time.
5 minutes is
Well, I
up.
thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If you'd like to know more, I really feel that you feel us as far as a community. I appreciate your efforts, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak against this petition?
I would on Zoom.
I'm Kathleen Caldwell, and I'm 55498 Bittersweet Road in Mishawaka. We're right on the corner of Weber and Bittersweet. So Weber to us is our neighborhood, not down the street of Bittersweet going north. That, we don't know those people. We know all these people on Weber Drive. So I'm very much opposed of it because I don't think the neighborhood and that area should have 4 units, which would be like 16 villas, and we just don't see the need for that in our neighborhood. We're fine if he wants to build just regular houses, as our other neighbors have said, but I just want you to know that most of us are very opposed of it. I don't know all the building requirements, but I do know people, and I do know what's good for a neighborhood, and I believe that just regular houses would be fine, but I would oppose all his building of putting so many apartments or condos in one little small area. That's going to just increase our traffic and the hazard of everything you heard our neighbors talk about. So I just really would appreciate if this would be declined for the actual villas and the units that he's talking about. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak against this petition?
I would on Zoom.
I'm getting there, sir. Give me 1 second. All right. Nobody else in-house that would like to speak against this? Now we'll go to Zoom. Anybody on Zoom?
We got one guy with a hand up already.
It's me again.
All right, name and address, and you got 5 minutes.
Tom DeLaurel, 12378 Weber Drive. I'm on the corner of Timber Lane and Weber. On the aerial view, it's lot number 75620. A lot of people have said some good information before me, so I won't repeat it. My concern is also the congestion. 16 units, 2-car garages, that's 32 vehicles right there without guests, visitors, parties. Most of the traffic will head north on Timber Lane because that's where the malls, restaurants, and shopping is. And then to turn left on Weber and then to get out on Bittersweet, the traffic will be crazy. And as previously mentioned, to go south and either enter or exit off of McKinley is challenging. I agree to developing that land into single dwelling homes, half acres, or similar to the surrounding single dwelling homes in the neighborhood. And also, there was mentioned earlier of a price of 250 to 300,000. I again am not a realtor, but I find someone paying $300,000 for 1,150 square foot might not work. So with that, thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak against this petition?
Go ahead, Mr. Hirschberger.
And I own the 2 lots to the north of me that are wooded.
Sir?
Yes.
I need your name and address first, please.
Oh, I did give it. I just must not have gotten it. It's Mike Hirschberger, 55542 Bittersweet Road.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And I also own the 2 properties to the north of me that are wooded. And so this would have quite an impact on my properties. I also agree that the character of the townhouses or villas would not go in our neighborhood. And that I also find it hard to imagine people living in in those enclosed areas with no property around and a really tight drive where there's no room to move around outside of a house. It worries me that there would be more traffic, but yeah, I just wanted to voice my opinion that I am not for it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak against this petition? Seeing none, public portion is now closed.
Hello?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
all right. Yep, I need your name and address, please.
Okay, could you give me a minute and 30 seconds time to park here? I have 5 minutes. I'd like 1 minute of silence real quick.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a first.
Is that in the guidelines?
I mean, if it's part of his 5 minutes.
He says he wants his 5 minute, it's not against
I
them.
think it's being used to park.
Better than getting in an accident.
Abby, I gotta leave.
I started the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
All right. We'll note it when you do, Bob. We'll note it for the record.
Okay, I am here. Can you hear me?
Name and address, please.
My name is Leonard G. Norris, 12338 McKinley Highway, Mishawaka, Indiana, 46545. I currently live, let's say, less than a quarter mile from Timber Lane Road, the access road. It's the main road that they want to use coming out of the proposed complex. As of now, when you, in the mornings for school, from the light at Bittersweet and McKinley, traffic is backed up from the light past my house, which is 12338 McKinley Highway, and several houses back every morning at the times morning when they're picking and dropping off kids for school. I do work for Penn. I see this every day as a school bus driver myself. There's just so much congestion right now, and what they're proposing is just going to add to that. We have a overflow of traffic, just unreal, and adding to it's just not recommended. And on the fact that I'd like to see it remain a residential area like it is now, don't put the appropriate houses there. If they want to build new construction, fine, but make it match the existing neighborhood, make everyone happy, and it's just, that's fair. That's what's fair to us, the community, the neighbors. Briefly, that's all I have. I am opposed against it, but thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak against this petition? Okay, seeing none. Public portion is now closed. You guys got anything else?
I think it's 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Petitioner gets
You
a
do-
rebuttal
yeah,
for 5
You
minutes.
do get a 5-minute rebuttal. Sorry about that. All right, see you, Bob. Thank you.
Well, thanks for letting me.
Actually, hang on one second.
We'll just note for the record that member Bob Hawley is exiting, so we are left with 6 members present.
All right, restarted. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, thanks for giving me a few more minutes to respond to those public comments. Yeah, I mean, everybody I think here would acknowledge that I've already had a private conversation with each one of them, except for one individual, Mr. Jim Rice. You know, he must have been one of the people who just wasn't home when I went through. So I apologize, I didn't connect with him. So, you know, there's a lot of concern, and now it sounds like maybe some people who weren't as concerned before maybe are more concerned now that they see more of the details. I accept that, okay? I do want to clarify that this is a residential area, and when I use the term villa, it's a marketing term. It's a home, right? It's like any other home. It's got a kitchen, living room, dining room, 2, maybe 3 bedrooms, maybe a basement. It's got a garage. It's got a driveway. The only issue here is, can these homes be attached together, which reduces the space in between them and increases the surrounding space? And I understand if the neighborhood, you know, is concerned and may not want to accept that, then, you know, I could look at a development plan that includes only detached homes. But I still might call them villas, and they still would fall under the 6,000 square feet per dwelling unit ordinance standard. So, you know, I'd like to address as many of these issues as possible. You know, I've heard that there's just a lot of concern or doubt over the technical details. So I know that I can try to develop that and address that more going forward. How we do that, you know, I'm open. I've already suggested that by changing the Eleanor Trail from a private loop street to, a public loop street to a private access drive would help immensely at eliminating the variances and providing more space for the needed ordinance regarding drainage and overflow parking on the street. I still maintain that the HOA would want to regulate any street parking, and however that's accomplished, you know, whether it's one side of the street, temporary, both, I think that could work, but there wouldn't be any need for parking to go outside of the loop street. I would not see any need for parking on Timber Lane. Regarding screening, maintaining, you know, there will be trees need to be cut down. Homes that are on private septic systems have to clear out a lot of trees as well. So simply by subdividing that into 4 or 5 lots with private septic, still you'd have the vast majority of trees that would need to be cut down to provide for the private septic systems that would be needed for that. So I still maintain that I will try however I can to preserve the natural landscape, preserve trees wherever possible, while meeting the county requirements, all county ordinance requirements. Okay, so that would be my rebuttal, and going forward, I don't know if I could continue to have conversations with the neighbors or if everybody's upset with me. Yeah, I just want to have an open door towards the neighborhood as far as alternatives and any changes, how that might reflect in a development plan. So, thank you.
I do have one question for you. The single-family home that's going to be developed here, how soon are you planning on doing that?
I have no plans for that. That would just be, so I had mentioned that was originally a part of the Weber Acres development that was set aside 60 years ago. My thought would be is to just not do anything with that until the petitionary development was complete, and then look at either listing it as a vacant lot maybe, I know at least one of the neighbors has expressed interest in buying that. I'd consider that, but I would want to just hold on to it for now in case there's any need for that space for this development, which as of today, I don't see that as a need. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
All right. I have just a quick question for him. If we were to, and I'm not sure what the mechanism would be, hit the pause button, I guess it would be table it for way more discovery to happen with regard to retention. I mean, that's just one of the issues. You know, this could potentially be, because of county retention requirements, scaling these down to 3-unit buildings or something, and then is it even financially feasible? I mean, there's just a whole lot of things, I think, that we alluded to earlier that I feel like this is just a little bit premature, but out of respect to your time and the effort that you put to do this, and all you people showing up to weigh in, what would that mechanism be, Brandy?
You do have the ability under your rules to table the petition to ask for more information from the petitioner, but with such a complex development, you might want to find out from him how long it would take to acquire the information that you're looking for to find out if that's a viable thing to do,
As opposed to just
denying it.
reapplying.
Yeah. And from staff's perspective, there's a lot that needs to be worked out. I think it would go beyond asking someone to add dimensions for a proposed fence. All right. Not something that can be turned around in a short time frame. And then we're in the situation where we're not sure whether or not we need to notice. And they may or may not be getting notice depending on if it's moving forward or not.
I second that. All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
I don't think it matters.
No, I think we're moving on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a couple of clarifying questions for the staff to make sure I understand this properly. So the way the ordinance reads is, there needs to be at least a minimum of 6,000 square feet for every proposed building on this lot, correct?
For each dwelling unit.
Each dwelling unit, yes. Okay. And so he's asking for 4,700 per dwelling unit, correct?
For lots 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think lots 3 and 4 are large enough.
They meet that?
I believe so.
Okay. So these 4 plexes basically is what could go on in certain aspects of it. Like he could build I can't discern from this picture which one's lot 1 and 2 and all that kind of stuff, but some of this could be built without anything except a variance.
Except for the special use.
Okay, so do we have to allow the special use because it's not R2?
Correct.
Okay, understood. All right.
One thing I'd like to clarify for you all, because it was referenced, if I can build it without the variances. If Eleanor Drive became a private street, then we have 2 lots at the rear without frontage. So then we need variances for frontage.
Okay. So as a group, do we need to treat these as 2 different entities? Because for the special use, we're just sending that to the county council with a recommendation. Regardless of what we say they should do, they can do whatever the heck they want. So then we should probably treat the variance separately than the special use to have impact on that.
I always recommend doing special uses and variances separately.
I was getting there. I was just letting everybody else finish talking.
Okay, so if, I want to speak beyond what may happen here. So if the way this is structured, the way he has constructed this site plan, the 17-foot frontage off the street does make sense to me because it then does retain on the outside of the impact zone, basically is what I'm going to call it, to the other structures, right? Because he's going to a 35-foot on the outsides of those by shrinking the 17-foot down on the front.
But, Joe, I don't think it matters because we can't get number 1, which is they go against the general welfare of the community.
We don't make that decision. We don't make the final
We do.
decision.
We're reviewing these three criterias, and if we can't hit any one of these, then that's why we should go against what staff's saying.
Understand, but the county council has a final say on this. We don't.
On the special use.
Right. But if the special use is voted yes, then we should have some impact on the other side of it as well, too. That's what I'm trying to get at, is we could say whatever we want on the special use. What do we want to say on the variance?
And that's what I'm trying to say on the variance. I don't see how we hit number one, because I'm in agreement with the community that this just does not fit the character of the area.
Okay. That's what I'm looking for, what input on that, regardless of what happens special use, what do we look like on the side of that? Okay.
I've lived in this area for 10 years, quarter of a mile down the street from this place, and I never even knew that was an actual driveway.
I didn't either. I'm right around the corner.
Yeah, I never knew it was a road.
You mean
I'm sorry.
Timber Lane?
Yeah.
I dated a girl in high school who lived on Weber, and I took that lane like a son of a gun every time I left her house. I apologize if you lived there 30 years ago, so,
You found the guy that was sneaking in the window.
I'm sorry to make light of the subject, it is serious.
I would like to remind you all, this is being
Sorry.
recorded.
I understand, yeah, no names were named, it's fine.
Hey, we had to lighten the mood a little bit.
And I live in Osceola, I live just on the south side of Penn High School, so I understand this area, and I do understand the infill needed, and there is gonna be more infill, and obviously Penn High School or Penn District is a very desirable area, so this is going to be developed one way or another. However, with the way this is constructed and looked at, in my opinion, it does not meet the criteria for injurious to the people around them. So I would make a motion that we send the special use request with an unfavorable recommendation of the county council.
Donnie Ritzmile, second.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
I'm going to qualify my answer by saying I'm in favor of higher density residential as infill going forward in our community. That's just, it's almost become critical. And I would also argue that this could possibly be a perfect location for that, but given the fact that we just don't have enough pieces of the puzzle, I'm going to have to say yes. That's agreeing with.
Yes, that's agreeing with that.
Mr. Schaefer?
I like Mr. Roush's way he put it, and I'm thinking kind of the same way. But I look at it, that's a lot of people in 2.68 or 5 acres. It's not 3.2, it's only on 2.68. If you do the math, and it's like, that's just packing them in a little tight, I think, for St. Joe County. So I'll have to vote yes also.
Mr. Velman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes. Okay, now to the variances.
Just as a note, if you're going to approve the variances at all, it would be my request that you make them subject to the approval of the special use by the county council. I don't know if you are, but if you were going to.
So I will state a case, Donnie, I see your point. I would make a motion to approve the variance as requested, subject to the special use being approved by the county council, because if they choose to see this as a good endeavor for this lot, shrinking that in and doing that does help additional buffer to the rest of the neighborhood. I made a motion to approve.
That's a motion to approve.
Sid Schaefer, I'll second that.
Mr. Byers?
No.
Mr. Ritzma?
No.
Mr. Roush?
No.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Velman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Okay.
So now you need a motion to deny the variances
Correct.
from someone.
You guys gotta let me get there.
Let him do his job.
Okay, so, your motion did not pass. So we
Understood.
need- Yes, so,
Donnie Ritzma, I'll make a motion that we deny both variances as requested, again, on my basis on the grounds that it would be injurious to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community, just would be out of character and context for the neighborhood surrounding the area. So my vote is no, against. Denial.
Tom Byers, I'll second that motion.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Mr. Vellman?
No.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
all right, so I'm all for development, right? As a builder, I'm all for it. I am going to vote the way that I'm gonna vote because there's just too many variables in this that are just not there yet, right? So I vote no. Or I'm sorry, I vote yes. I'm sorry. I vote yes. To deny it. Sorry, I vote yes. Looking at my wrong line. Sorry about that. Okay, so based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, will send an unfavorable recommendation to the county council and also denies your variances and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you. Sorry.
Petition number 7, location 52144 State Road 933 Highway. Owner DG Properties 4 LLC. Requested action, special use to allow a tattoo and body piercing establishment in the C Commercial District per section 151.477. Zoning C Commercial District, County.
Fariel Sharif, Area Plan Commission staff again. Like the earlier petition, the subject property here is a commercial retail strip plaza off State Road 933 Highway. The petitioner today is looking to relocate their existing tattoo and body piercing establishment into a suite in this building. Again, because tattoo and body piercing establishments are a controlled use, they're only allowed in the commercial district with a special use permit. This is along a major commercial corridor. To the north, abutting the plaza, is a dentist office. To the south are other commercial businesses. Across SR 933 is a car audio sales store and car dealerships. Moving on to criteria for a special exception use. My analysis here is similar to the earlier report. The proposed use will not be injurious to comfort, community moral standards, general welfare. The business operates with all relevant permits that state they will pay special regard to necessary safety and health protocols. It is unlikely to pose any adverse or objectionable impacts. This is a largely commercial area. If approved, this would not be the first tattoo shop on SR 933 allowed by special use. There's another one a bit up the road. The proposed use is also compatible with the comprehensive plan and has no conflict. Therefore, staff recommends this petition be sent with a favorable recommendation to the county council. I can take any questions you may have.
Nope. All right, thank you. Is the petitioner present? Name and address, and you got 10 minutes, please. Everybody, thank you for your patience. Sorry about that, but thank you.
I'm Lauren McKinnon. This is
I'm
my
Seth Joker Street.
that one. We live at 52389 Bamford. And currently, our tattoo shop is located at
56977.
That one.
Mayflower, which is the location everybody
right.
just
So
heard about.
both of us are growing. So we have actually outgrown the space that we are currently in. And it really only should have probably about 6 people max. And we are growing rapidly, and we look to be employing closer to 10 artists here in the next 60 to 90 days. So we just want to grow and keep going. Yeah. And also get a place a little closer to home and shorten our commute. So. But I think pretty much everything, we don't have anything additional to add besides what's already in the packet. So, unless you have questions for us.
You guys got anything? No?
I do.
Oh, of course.
I'm interested to, in your special use requested is host events such as paint nights for both adult and youth guests. So I've been to a wine and canvas. Are you like an ink and canvas type thing as well too, or what?
So we're all artists of all types. We paint, we draw, there's sculpting, painting minis. There's a big streak of nerddom in our group, so we do like D&D stuff. Yeah.
There's an awesome little game store right
There's
Right.
one across the street, yeah.
Yeah.
In the other retail site down there, yep.
Exactly. So
Okay.
we do all kinds of different art stuff. We've also, and this is nothing that's happened yet, but the ideas floated around. One of a dear client who's become a friend is graduating from Notre Dame and is going into art therapy. And so we would like to be able to offer a space to her, maybe on a weekly basis, to do an event for what she's doing. So, and we want to be able to do more in the community, and where we're located now it's tougher to do.
Yeah.
We'd also like to have more wall space so that we can hang up works from other local artists that are non-tattoo artists, so that we can throw a spotlight on the
Other
local
local
art
artists.
community in general, not just tattoos.
Yep.
Because at heart, we're artists first.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is nerdum an actual word?
I don't know, but it should be.
Don't judge.
Hyphenated.
All right. Anybody else? Does anybody else have anything? All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom?
Everybody disappeared.
Seeing none. Is there anybody that would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none, public portion is now closed. You guys got anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve, or I'm sorry, to send this special use to the county council with a favorable recommendation. I appreciate the art that goes into a tattoo. And I think many other people do as well.
And I would second that. Donnie Ritzma.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Vellman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, will send a favorable recommendation to the county council and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you. Have a good day.
Number 8, location 69416 Beach Road. Owner Rachel M. Pittman. Requested action, variance from section 154.092 sub A to allow for a lot area of 3.5 acres where 20 acres is required. Zoning A agricultural district, county.
All right, this is Carl Brown Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff. This is another petition that may seem familiar to you. You recently heard and granted a variance for lot area on this property in July, requesting that the minimum lot size be increased to 3 acres to accommodate all setbacks for the accessory buildings, on the condition that the resulting outlot be combined with that property there to the south. So Mr. Danch is back because due to an ownership issue, it has been found that it's not possible to combine those two lots together. So we need to come back and have another variance. As a reminder, this is the house and the farm buildings there. That's the farm field. This is the new site plan for the squared-off property. I believe it is just over 3.5 acres, and the resulting outlot is approximately 16 acres. Looking at our state law criteria, approval will not be injurious to the surrounding community. Granting the variance will allow for the sale of the house and existing accessory buildings without any new buildings or increases to density being planned. However, staff's position is that this variance, in its current form, may eventually threaten the surrounding property values in that we have concerns over the resulting 16-acre outlot. It may not be large enough to support a viable farming operation in the future, and there are concerns that this could drive the future owner to come back before this board and seek a variance to allow that to be platted as a residential lot, thereby increasing eventually the density in the agricultural district and threatening the character of the area. We do find there to be practical difficulties, however. Without the variance, the facilitation of the sale of this property would be difficult. This variance will allow for a more logically shaped parcel. Ultimately, though, because of our determination on criteria number 2, staff does recommend denial, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you would have.
Anything?
Put a dotty house on it.
No? All right, thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Mike Danch from Danch Hunter Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive here in South Bend, representing the petitioner. This is the same petition you heard in July. What the difficulty was is that the owner of the property, she's up in age, and at the time we submitted everything, we had the conversation with the real estate people that they also had control of that property to the south, that we were making the larger outlot. What it turned out to be is that the family had trust agreements that were done. Rachel actually only owns the piece of property that you see before you. So in essence, we talked to the staff about that because there was that condition of adding that additional parcel, but Rachel Pittman had no control over that piece. And we did not know that at the time we were going through the Board of Zoning Appeals. So nothing had changed from what we're asking the board to do. We had come before you. You actually asked me to make that parcel for the homestead square instead of the odd angle that we had. So this is, the end result is what you're seeing here. The one other thing that I would ask the board to do is you've taken a look, there's a barn that's existing on that very east side. If you also want me to maintain that, we had talked about that, so there's no required variance for that. I can move that line over so that that building meets the 30-foot setback as well. And if you have any questions for me, obviously this property that's surrounding it's going to continue to be farmed. The farmer that's doing the farming now farms not only this piece, but the other pieces that are adjacent to that. That's not going to stop anytime soon. We will go through the subdivision process. It'll make the farm ground obviously tillable with no problem, but it'll keep it as unbuildable so that someone can't come back and ask for an additional home on that property. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Without on outlotting later, right?
What we'll actually do it as part of the subdivision process so that it gets done at the time the subdivision process gets created. So the lot that you actually approved for me to create back in July, that'll be a legal lot of record so they can sell off the homestead property. But everything else will turn out to be an outlot, which is unbuildable. Right. Yeah, that'll be part of its requirement by the way we do the subdivision. And it'll be continue to be farmed.
Got it. You good with that, Carl?
So staff's concern is, I mean, it is going to be placed into an outlot, but we're concerned about down the road when property changes hands, however many years in the future, they see it's an outlot, if someone was to just own the 16-acre outlot by itself without access to the surrounding farmland, it would be difficult to use that property only for farming. So at that time, they may be able to come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask to have a variance to allow it to be platted as a buildable lot.
And at that time, 25 years from now, the comprehensive plan may allow it.
We don't, I mean,
Not if
we're basing
Abby's
this
still
based on
here.
the current ordinance.
Now you're crystal balling it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can all have conjecture.
All right, well, you guys got anything else?
Nope.
Nope, all right, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Name and address, please, in 10 minutes, or, I'm sorry, 5 minutes. Holy cow, 5 minutes. It's hot up here.
You're hot.
Yes, I'm dying.
My name is Rachel Pittman, 69416 Beach Road, and I own that farm. I need to downsize now, and the way I can do that is sell my home and the buildings. I had a buyer back the end of March, and he still wants it. I have several people that are interested in the remaining 15 acres if it ever comes to that. I don't have in mind that that will happen, but have 2 people that are interested. My farmer and his son want to continue farming that, very much, they do. Any questions?
How did it become a 20-acre lot to begin with? Since it's an old house, it wasn't under the 20-acre rule.
That was before my husband put half of it into the trust. His grandfather bought 40 acres there. And when my husband became older, he decided to put half of it in the trust, along with other land that we have. It's been in the family since 1917.
Wow. You guys got anything? All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Name and address in 5 minutes, please.
My name is Landon Yoder. My address is 66491 Beach Road. I'm the person that's wanting to purchase this property. Been looking forward to expanding a bigger place for my family that's growing. And would just love to get this to go through so we can move on with moving into this place. So,
Okay, thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this petition, please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Anybody that would like to speak against this petition, please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none, public portion is now closed. You guys got anything?
Carl, is there a setback issue on the west end behind the barn? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought Mike said east, and that was, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, on that very east side, so,
The east side.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is, okay.
So if you approve it,
Yeah, that was all me.
Yeah,
I looked at that, thought, no, that's west. Okay.
and I'll make it so that it meets the 30-foot
Thanks.
setback.
Put the other 4 letters on there, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
No one said that. Mr. Chairman, seeing that this was it appears a technical snafu after the fact of what our original intention on this was, I see no reason not to grant this variance as requested with this second round. So I would make a motion to grant the variance as requested.
Tom Byers, second.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Mr. Velman,
Yes.
Mr. Byers,
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier.
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, grants your variance and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you.
Location 54911 Quince Road. Owner Warren Township Building Corporation. Variance number 1 from section 154.332 sub B to not provide required type 1 open landscaping along the north and south lot lines. Variance number 2 from section 154.107 sub C 2 to allow a side yard setback of 16 feet where 20 feet is required for a driveway and interior access drive. Special use per section 154.106 sub B 15E to allow a fire station in an R single-family residential district. Zoning R single-family district, county.
This is Fariel Sharif again, Area Plan Commission staff. This petition is for a special use to allow a new fire station to be built for Warren Township. It also comes to you with 2 variances. The subject property is zoned residential, and public service uses such as a fire station are only allowed in the residential district with the special use. The project is currently undergoing commercial plan review process. It will replace the existing fire station, which is located to the north, which has been proposed for reuse, potentially as a community center. Here is the property currently. All other properties in the immediate vicinity are also zoned residential. There is a single-family home, which is abutting the eastern portion on the southern lot line of the property. Here is the old fire station. Here are the site plans. First is the overall site plan showing the whole parcel. You can see that there will remain a large amount of open space on the property, as well as the proposed fitness trail. Here's some of the site details showing the materials that will be used in the build. Here's our overall landscape plan and a close-up of that. Moving on to criteria to consider when making a recommendation on a special use. The proposed use will not be injurious. Allowing the new fire station will promote public health and safety and better serve both the fire department and the surrounding community. Constructing it on the new site will also allow them to potentially reuse the structure to something like a community center, which would serve the general welfare. The proposed use will not adversely affect the adjacent area. There will be adequate screening where the residential dwellings are, and all other residential uses in the immediate area are far enough away from the proposed use that there should be no impact to their value. For use and character, it will be consistent with the character of a residential district and the land uses therein. This is due to the high architectural quality proposed for the building. The size and intensity is not unlike a church or other religious use building, which is permitted by right in the residential district. Finally, we don't find that this fire station is inconsistent with the St. Joseph County Comprehensive Plan. Next, on to the variances. The petitioner is requesting 2 variances. First, to not provide type 1 open landscaping across the entirety of the north and south lot line. The ordinance actually requires type 1 landscaping at minimum required whenever the lot lines abut another residential district or use. Going back to that landscape plan quickly, you can see they are planning to provide landscaping across the eastern or front part of the southern and northern lot line. That is where the driveway and building will actually be built, and the rest of the lot line is where there will be open space and the proposed trail in the back. Where they are abutting that residential use on the part of the southern lot line, they will be providing type 2 landscaping, which is greater screening than what the ordinance requires. For those reasons, approval of this variance will not be injurious to the community and will not affect the adjacent properties in a substantially adverse manner. We do believe there are practical difficulties in the strict application of the terms of this chapter, which would be requiring the type 1 landscaping all the way across the lot line, resulting in practical difficulties as a majority of the site will remain open space and is not directly adjacent to residential use. For the second variance, the petitioner is requesting a variance for the southern driveway to be set back 16 feet instead of the required 20. This will not affect the adjacent property in a substantially adverse manner, as a screening is already being required there. Strict application of the side setback would not allow for the site design, which provides circulation for the fire vehicles to be stored on site. Thus, we also recommend approval of the variance. To summarize, staff recommends approval of both variances, subject to a submitted site plan showing type 1 landscaping across the north portion of the site containing the building driveways and parking area, and type 2 landscaping along the south portion of the site containing the same improvements, and subject to the approval of the special exception use. Happy to answer any questions relating to any of that.
You guys got anything?
Good job.
A lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of
Can
pages.
we not get off of this screen so that I can repeat all of that?
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. You guys got anything else? No? All right. Name and address in 10 minutes, please.
Steve Downey, I'm the Warren Township trustee. Business office is 25711 Grant Road. I think she summarized pretty well what we're wanting to do. The added point I do on that, where we don't want to do the type 1 landscaping, is actually there's high tension power lines that go between that residential area and our property. That's part of the reason why we don't want to add the trees in there. That's all I can add other than what was eloquently said. Welcome to answer any questions you have.
I just had one question on your variance 3 and your approval not being injurious. You speak of allowing the fire station latitude to the 20-foot setback, that injury or unsafe conditions would fall to the public. It stated that fire trucks require more physical space for turning and maneuvering at high speeds. Is there an expectation that a fire truck's going to maneuver at high speeds in a driveway?
I hope not.
Okay.
Not when they're returning there.
That's
Going
kind of
out-
my contention,
Yeah,
so-
going out sometimes, but returning, they should be
Yeah.
driving safely.
Okay. Just want to get a clarification on how fast they're ripping out of that fire station.
That's all I had.
Anybody else? All right, thank you. All right, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Is there anybody that would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom?
Come on, Ron.
Seeing none, public portion is now closed.
Mr. Chairman, we need fire stations. So I would make a recommendation, or I would make a motion, if I had words that were right, to send the special use to the county council with a favorable recommendation.
Donnie Ritzman, I'll second.
Mr. Byers?
Yes?
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Velman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes. Why'd you hesitate?
Did it. It's emphasizing the yes.
All right. Variances? Yeah, what about them?
Mr. Chairman, I think when putting a fire station in a residential area and especially with the type of landscaping that's required, I think utilizing existing landscaping as they've indicated here, or because of extenuating circumstances on the other existing implications to the site because of the high tension wires, allows them some latitude on what they can do there. Also, because of the structure of a fire truck being larger than a normal vehicle that would be in a residential area, the side yard setback of 16 foot makes more sense to us to be able to apply this properly. So I would make a motion to approve both variances as requested.
Question, the staff has recommended and would very much prefer that the approval of the variances be subject to the site plan provided, if that is something you are willing to add to your motion.
As they're showing a portion of the required landscaping.
Let me read your conditions again, because I did not approve them when I first thought about it, so let's see. Approval of the request is void unless an improvement location permit is issued within 6 months. Well, isn't that standard?
So it's just basically saying that you're approving subject to what they're showing there, and it would basically tie them to not change.
It's like subject to the landscape plan shown.
Yes.
Subject to site plan.
And then, Joe, do you want to add in under the condition if this special use gets approved?
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Isn't some of this inferred already, though?
I got you.
If you don't specifically say it, it is not.
Really?
The part about pulling the permit.
Because it's entered into evidence, isn't it? I mean,
Well, they're getting a variance for part of the landscaping, but providing part of it.
okay.
So if you grant them a variance, then they wouldn't be required to do what
They
they're.
could rip out what's already there. I will also add that since this is going through commercial plan review, a lot of times there are changes to site plans during that process as they receive comments from different agencies. So adding that commitment in is just saying that they will definitely be putting in the type 2 and type 1 landscaping where the building and the driveway are, and they won't be changing that if any comments come from agencies or any changes to the site plan.
As shown on the plan that they've given us.
Yes.
This input would be helpful before I make my motion.
I apologize.
So I would amend my motion to state that I would make a recommendation, God, I can't talk today. To approve the variances as requested, subject to the conditions imposed by staff in their notes and subject to the special use being approved by the county council. That's in their notes.
Is it?
Subject to what?
The conditions
The
as
conditions
imposed.
that staff put in their staff
Staff is
report,
in the report.
and that the special use be approved.
That's good.
I wasn't repeating all that.
Donnie Ritzma, I will second.
Mr. Byers?
Yes?
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Velman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, will send a favorable recommendation to the county council and grants your variances on the condition, or I'm sorry, subject to the staff's conditions outlined in staff report and on the condition of the special use being approved by the county council, and will issue written findings of the facts.
Gold star.
Have a great day.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the finding
Oh,
of.
hold on, we're not there yet. Hold on. We have a petition that needs to be extended, or that's asking to have an extension.
Well, technically, that
That
falls
is in
under other
other business,
business.
which is third
So
behind the other
he's not
two.
wrong. The next item
Oh.
would be the findings of the facts.
I don't, okay, go ahead.
I would make a motion to approve the finding of facts for August 22nd, 2023.
I think there are corrections that need to be made, so subject
Our quality control has.
Subject to any corrections being made by staff after the fact.
Donnie Ritzma, I'll second.
All right, Joe motion, Donnie seconded, to approve the finding of the facts, subject to corrections to be made by staff for August 22nd, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would also make a motion to approve the minutes for the July 12th, 2023 meeting.
Donnie Ritzma, I'll second.
Anybody can chime in.
All right, Joe made a motion to approve the minutes for July 12th, 2023. Donnie seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now we can get there.
All right. Under other business, we have a request for an extension of a variance granted at 17638 Otten Road. I believe this variance was granted in June of 2023. Our bylaws allow, when variances are approved, they're valid for 6 months unless specific language is specified by the board.
So it specifically says that the variance becomes void if they don't get a building permit within 6 months, but that the board has the ability to give permission for continuance of the variance. So that is what is being requested, because this variance has not expired yet. The one that you heard earlier, that they had expired before they made the request. So it was as if it had never been granted. This one, it would not expire until next month, or actually like December. So they have time. They just know they're not going to be able to get the building permit within the 6 months. So they came and decided to ask for extra time.
And there is a representative of the petitioner that's on Zoom, I believe. I
Is
think-
there a fee for that extension?
No.
It's just an administrative, again, technicality type thing.
It's how your rule is written. We actually, initially Abby was thinking that there wasn't a provision where it could even be extended, that they would have to come back, but we double checked and it says that they can ask you for one, but there's not an associated fee or anything because it's just an administrative thing that you guys allowed them to do.
Sure.
So do we need to go, do we need to talk to them, ask them anything, or can we?
According to their email, it looks like they're asking for 12 months or 9 months, but as far as what they want and what information you might need from them to make the decision of whether or not you're going to give it to them, that's up to you. You can ask them whatever you need.
I guess my question is, just to make sure I understand in my head, this is giving them until December of 2024 to pull a permit or to complete construction?
The request would be to give them time to pull the permit, is my understanding.
So they would have basically all of next year to be able to pull the permit?
I mean, yeah, they're asking for 12 months to get to December 2024
Okay. I just
to
want to
pull
make sure
the
I
building
understand.
permit.
And then they'd have 2 years after that to get the build done?
That's how it would be written, yeah, currently.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
I would make a motion, is that what I need to do? I make a motion to allow this administrative request to give them a 12 months extension to December of 2024 in order to pull a building permit.
Lance Ross, second.
Can they do it by voice vote?
Yeah, there's no reason they can't.
All right, so, Joe made a motion to extend the petition at 17638 Otten Road. 12-month extension?
Yeah, to December.
All right,
Per the
12-month
request.
extension, to the variance. Lance seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And for the record, this is under rule number 6.05 of your bylaws.
All opposed?
I appreciate them being proactive.
Perfect. In fairness, I did ask if we were doing this right after the petitions.
Yeah. There's not much we can do after a variance has expired, but if they contact us prior to expiration, we'll bring these requests to you.
You see, they're going in
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
You don't vote.
Johnny Ritzmo, second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have a great day.
Four votes here.